Most of the sourcing agent doesn't provide value, and many times you will find they can only make damage. They might help you find a factory, but they will get a high price, and they will try to close the deal fast, so they will not go through the details, and later you're gonna have problem in the order. Unless it's a very expert sourcing agent, I think most of the time it's better to work directly.
Hi, I'm your host John Cavendish and welcome to the Amazon Strategist Show, the show that's all strategy with no hacks, no silver bullets and no magic pills, just real practical strategies to grow your Amazon business. Today I am joined by none other than Omar Sassoon from the Sassoon Company, who helps Amazon sellers establish direct relationships with Asian manufacturers. With over a decade of experience and speaking Mandarin fluently, he bridges the cultural gaps and transforms sourcing challenges into strategic advantages. Welcome, Omar.
Thank you for having me.
So, we just learned that we actually travel and live near each other often, sometimes, but you've been, in all these different places sourcing. So, what are some of the biggest mistakes Amazon sellers make when sourcing in Asia?
I guess that the number one mistake is assuming they know everything, while there are many things they don't know, especially if we talk about culture. So you also have experience in Asia, you know this. And I think it's not only Amazon sellers, okay? It's Western people in general. In our nature, we tend to think that everything in Asia is going to be similar to how it's in our country, and it's totally different. So I think also like the number one tip I can give is assume you don't understand and your counterpart also doesn't understand, even if he say yes, okay? And I think if you have this assumption, you already prevent many mistakes from coming up, because the culture difference. It's not like when people talk about culture, they think it's only things like, I don't know, in Japan you bow or something like this, but culture is deeper than this. Culture is when you say something, how I interpret what you said. Like, what do I understand from what you said? And do I think it's offensive, even though you said a joke? So if you think you understand the culture in Asia, while you don't, even if you visited China one or two times in your life, like, you don't really understand the culture. And if you think you do, you're going to make different kind of mistakes. Sometimes you might, in extreme example, you might offend your counterpart. And in other example, just for example, when you ask for a discount and he say no, you might think, I don't know, he's just rude while he's not. Or if you really understand the culture, you can do much better move. Now, because not everyone is living in China, or Asia, which is understood, again, what you can do is just assume you don't understand and your counterpart doesn't understand. And when you assume this, it's not just, okay, I don't understand. Like, if somebody is talking to you and you assume you didn't understand, you're going to ask questions, right? You're going to make sure you actually understood. And when you explain something, you're going to explain it in different ways. I don't know, you might show also pictures and might rephrase your sentence a few times. So when you assume you didn't understand, you are actually going to make some steps to make the other side actually understand.
No, I love that. And I have many experiences like that as well. Like when you said that people think it's just like the West. So my friend moved to the Philippines like 10 years ago, one of my close friends. And he's like, yeah, I'd only ever been to Singapore before, so I thought all of Asia was like Singapore. And then he moved to the Philippines and he got there and he was like, oh, I'm in Cebu. Cebu was nothing like Singapore.
Yeah.
Or, I used to work with a Japanese company when I was in the UK, and Japanese people say yes and nod along, and you think, yes, they agree. And at the end, they will say, no.
It just happened to me, by the way. Like, in a deal, I've been like physically in Japan in a deal with a Japanese person on my side. Like, we have part-time Japanese employee, and they nod, they said yes, and even the Japanese person next to me thought it's going to be all right, and like 1 week later they said, sorry, we cannot do it.
Yeah. Yeah, just culture, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's why having someone like you to guide is very good. Like in Vietnam, unless there's a contract, doesn't mean anything. Verbal agreement
right.
is no agreement. Nothing unless it's written down and signed and stamped means anything at all. So yeah, I love it. Good insights. So how, knowing this and knowing the cultural differences, how can you ensure that your supplier is reliable and not like overpromising or just saying what they want to say to get your business?
Okay, so for me, the best way is to meet the factories. Now, because if you don't live in Asia, you cannot every day to fly to so many factories. There are many companies that provide factory audit service. We provide it in China only, by the way, but there are other companies that can provide it in other countries. For me, and maybe I'm a little bit old-fashioned because I learned everything on the ground in China. But for me, it's very hard for me to trust someone if I or somebody on my behalf visited the factory. And so you see the place, you see the facility, the employees, the machines. Like, I think that many people think it's like, we don't need to do it, it's expensive. But I don't know, for me, I cannot close a deal if I didn't do it. Again, it doesn't have to be myself, I can send someone, but I think it's a very basic thing. Also, it's also make the other side take you seriously. Because yeah, I think you're many years in the Amazon business and there are many beginners. Not everyone do this kind of steps, factory audit or visiting the factory. So when you do, the factory is already looking at you as a very serious buyer, and they will also be careful in the way they behave and work with you.
And now a very quick message from our sponsor, Seller Candy. Are you dealing with support issues, cases, flat files, suspensions, or even account suspensions? Then Seller Candy is there for you. We take the pain away so you never need to talk to seller support again. If that sounds interesting, head to sellercandy.com to check us out and book a call with our team today. That's it from us. Now back to the episode. Yeah, and how many factories do you think you visited throughout your career now?
No way I can count. Like, in my first few years in China, I've been literally going to like 3 to 5 factories every day because I wanted to make as many contacts as possible. And this is only in the first few years in China. So there is no way I can count it.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I've only been to a few, and it's definitely a good experience. I recommend it to anyone, especially if they're already working with someone, or if you want to work with them, go out for dinner, go out to like the hot pot restaurant or the big round table and order your food. That's great. Like, I'm sure you're sick of it. You've been to so many.
Just the thing is, especially with the Chinese, that in China, the more expensive the dish is, and they want to buy you the expensive dish, it's probably going to be sorry. And I'm really a foodie person, but more disgusting it's going to be. Like, like cow head or chicken head or pig's blood, some crazy things that even for me I cannot touch. So you do, like, actually, I start to say this as a joke, but it's actually a good suggestion that if you are going to go with a supplier to a dinner and he's going to invite you, you better say ahead if there are things you cannot eat, because it's going to be much worse if you are going to go to a restaurant, and it happened to me, and they are going to order many things, and I'm telling you, there are some things you will not be even able to look. And by the way, it's one of the reasons that I'm visiting factories all the time. I stopped going out for dinners and lunch with suppliers unless I'm the one that's inviting, because it happened to me a few times what I just described, and I didn't like it.
What did you have to eat? What were they trying to make you eat?
So there was blood in some forms and some heads of different animals in some form, and you have in the world crazy stuff. In Korea you have a dish that it's like they take squid or octopus and they cut it while it's still alive.
Okay,
And then
I've seen
even
that.
though it's dead, it's still moving in your dish and you're supposed to eat it out of your plate while it's still moving.
Oh,
There's
wow.
some crazy stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, at least in Vietnam, I mean, there is some crazy stuff in Vietnam. Vietnam's pretty normal, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
I
like,
agree.
like
And by
maybe
the way, great food over there.
amazing food. Yeah, more likely that they will try and get you smashed because
Yeah.
Vietnamese love drinking. To lots of cheersing and noise. So, when you're working with these factories, should you be working with them directly? Should you be using a sourcing agent? What's the best way to deal with these factories, especially if you're maybe different for a start, a newbie,
Yeah.
experienced, advanced?
I think that in today's world, mostly directly. And I think there are some sourcing agents that provide a lot of value, but I think there are actually a few. Like most of the sourcing agent doesn't provide value, and many times you will find they can only make damage. They might help you find a factory, but they will get a high price, and they will try to close the deal fast, so they will not go through the details, and later you're gonna have problem in the order. So unless it's a very expert sourcing agent, I think most of the time it's better to work directly. But I do have to touch the trading company, which trading company is not like sourcing agent because trading company is buying the goods. They are actually the supplier and they are reselling to you. Now, again, same like sourcing agents, there are some trading companies that are gonna do only damage, but there are some trading companies that been in a specific niche for many years and they became expert, like in supplement, art and craft, electronic, and sometimes those trading companies working with them will be better rather than working with the factory. And I know you asked a question and I didn't actually give you a direct answer because I believe from my experience there is no golden rule, like always work with factory or always work with this. Like open your mind, explore all the options. But yes, for sourcing agent, I think most of the time they don't bring much value to the table.
Yeah, and I mean, in my experience, I mean, China, I think, I would say my experience with China is exactly what you're saying. Like, they don't bring much value. I think potentially somewhere like Vietnam, you might bring more value
Yeah,
because a lot of these factories don't have English-speaking sales teams. They're very confused if you approach them. They're like, where's the agent? And and you want someone to go on the ground and check that the factory doesn't have a dirt floor and they're not throwing stuff on it.
right.
But like saying that, some of the best stuff in the world is made in Vietnam. So it's just about a question of finding the right suppliers and the ones that are legitimate operations.
By the way, I just have to say, like, about first time when I visited factory in Vietnam, I was super surprised because I assumed the business in Vietnam going to be very similar to China, and I was surprised on the good side, like the quality control systems in Vietnam, how organized they can be in the big factories. I'm not talking about the small workshops. Sometimes even like it's hard to work with them. They really want to research about you. It's not like in China. In China, all you need is to present money and you are welcome. So I was really surprised from Vietnam when I started working with them, and I think it's a very good country to work with.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't done any business like that in Vietnam. From my experience with Vietnamese people, though, it's like my thought would be the reason they'd research you a lot is that, as I said, when contracts are signed, they mean it. But before it's signed, they don't care. But once the contract's signed, the government will enforce that contract no matter what. So they want to make sure that you're going to actually do what you say you're going to do, I think. That's just my experience because, people are very reluctant to sign anything. But when they do, you can trust them completely,
Yeah.
roughly. So, you've got your suppliers, you're making money, and you want to scale up. I know you like to talk about scale. Like, what do you think is the best, in your experience, is the best way to scale an e-com business without it just running away from you?
Yeah, okay, actually, it's a good point because most of my customers are companies in scaling stage and after the scaling stage. But so I have a lot of input on this, and I think the best, like when you're Amazon seller, so at first as a beginner, you probably did one product, then little bit increase the quantities, then another product, and then probably at some stage you decide, okay, you want to scale up, make many more products, much bigger volume. And I think in this stage, it's really important that you will do deep research. And what I mean by this, like many times Amazon sellers, when they are looking for suppliers, they will contact 5 suppliers, 10 suppliers. When we are doing this on behalf of company in scaling stage, we're probably gonna contact few hundreds. Because when you are scaling, you number one, you really want to know you have the best option in the market. So and the only way to know this is by checking many. Okay, and like I said before, like many trading companies, factories, different pricing, quality. So this is number one. And number two, you want to have a backup option and even 2 backup options. Because many times supplier can be good, but later things can happen, like financially or from operation perspective of the factory. And if you have a backup option, now when I say backup option, I don't mean just aligning the Excel, the backup option, like you actually check the sample, maybe you did factory audit, you really have ready to go backup option. And if you really want to go one step further, so I think in this world with the tariffs and everything, so if I will look for factory in China, I will probably also try to create a backup option in Vietnam or India or another country. And when I say backup, it doesn't mean that they are exactly the same. So maybe your backup is a little bit more expensive, maybe their production time is a little bit longer, but one thing for sure, if when you need to restock, suddenly you have a problem with your factory and now you need to start looking for a factory, I think only bad things are going to happen. You're going to hurry up, you are not going to do the process right, you will not have time to fix the samples. So I think it's better one time to do it right, and then you can actually scale without being worried. And also to know that if later your supplier is going to cause trouble to you, going to increase the price too much, you're going to find out later it's not reliable, you are not scared about this, it doesn't catch you, well, and you can just transfer to another supplier and keep going.
Yeah, very smart. And I assume that a lot of people wish they had that right now with, the 9th of
Right.
April recording this.
By the way,
today is the day.
it's like one of the reasons I'm not in panic right now, because for many of the major products we are doing for clients, we have backup suppliers. So yeah.
And with the current state of the world, obviously tariffs may change totally tomorrow. Where would be the biggest second manufacturing hub you'd be moving people to out of China?
Okay, so just for context, for my first few years, I've been living only in China. I did business only in China, and then in COVID, when China was locked down in one day, and it was much before the West, like before other countries, I said to myself, okay, this cannot happen again. And since then, I started to learn other countries and travel and visit many factories. And I have to say that there is no second China. Okay, it's important for me to say. In China, you can find factories for everything. So it's not like you can say, okay, I'm going to replace China with India. It's not going to happen. And for this you have to research. You can replace the wooden product you make in China, maybe buy them from India. And some plastic product you buy in China, you can buy them in Vietnam. And some, surprisingly, stationary product you might be able to buy in Japan. So it's going to be a little bit more complex because you don't have like a second production hub like China. You're going to have to work with different countries. And one thing that I have to say is that because really I researched this for a few years before the tariff thing came up, that there are some products that even with 200% tariff, it's still going to be better to buy from China rather than other countries.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. Like once things have settled, I mean, the world is the world, isn't it? It's just the people that are currently in the process of shipping or manufacturing, they're the people that are going to have to eat a big pile of tariff tax on the way into the US, which is crazy. Love it. Well, thank you for sharing. We're going to go now into our controversial take, where you get a chance to say anything you want to. What's your most controversial or debatable opinion related to Amazon or the e-commerce space in general?
Right. So I will talk about the tariff, okay? Because I've been in the business for a few years. So I've been here also in COVID when China locked up, and later where the shipping cost increased like crazy. Container cost was like $8,000 and more. So I think the the best advice I can give is don't react with panic right now, because really nobody knows what's going to happen with the tariff. Is it going to go up, down, spiral, or whatever, and when? And now, and I saw this also on COVID. Many companies froze. They stopped production. They stopped the shipping. And other companies, some of my clients actually were pushing harder. Yes, the shipping cost was higher and things were more complicated, and shipping time was like sometimes 3 months, but they were still pushing, and they got very big market share in their niche. So I'm not saying like ignore the situation, but I say don't react with panic. Okay, in the world right now, every year we have something else, like a gasoline cost increasing, or COVID, or whatever. So like relax. I'm not saying like ignore the problem, but just accept this as a challenge and try to think how you can create advantage. I don't know, maybe just like one thing we did also in COVID and we are doing also now. So now all the pricing are going to increase in the US, right? Because of the tariff. And most of the people are so focused on trying to negotiate with the Chinese supplier how to reduce 10 cents from the product, but you can reduce 10, 20, 30 cents for the product. With 104% tariff, it's not going to make almost any difference. On the other side, you can try to focus on how to improve the product, the quality, the function. Even if you are going to increase the product cost by doing this in $1 or $2, you are going to have much bigger advantage, because I think that I don't know, 2-3 months from now, we are going to see the product pricing are really increasing. So I'm not sure that what's going to make the difference to the end user is only what is cheaper in 10 cents, but also which product is more unique. So for the situation right now, I think don't try to look for solution only in the pricing, even though the problem is in the pricing. Try to look for solution also in other areas. So I'll give also another idea. I don't know, open your mind. Maybe instead of try to look for cheaper option in Vietnam or India, try to look for better option in Japan or Korea. So like try to be creative. Everyone right now are trying to cut cost. I am not saying don't do it. I say maybe in some cases it's not the solution that's actually going to make the difference for you.
No, I love it. Very insightful. And yeah, I can see that. It feels like also what sparked in my mind when you're sharing about prices going up in 3 months is that if you're in the US, you should start stockpiling products to resell certain things which are going to get jacked up, like especially expensive goods, because yeah, you can make a nice 25% profit when the prices go up by 50%.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. So, Omar, how can you help people? What are some of the services that you can support with if anyone's listening to this podcast?
So Amazon sellers, that especially Amazon, companies that make at least 1 million annually, can contact us. We are not working as a sourcing agent. We are a service provider. We help you find a supplier, market research. We are contacting hundreds of suppliers, inspection and QC in China. Like if you are a company that make 1 million annually and above, especially if you are about to scale, contact us. We can help you reduce pricing and find better suppliers.
Oh, love it. Easy value prop. Cool. So how can people reach you or your team if they want to reach out?
So I guess you're going to share my link. Like you can contact me directly, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. Like just contact me directly. We can jump, anyone that come from this podcast, we can jump on a call to evaluate if we can actually give a good solution for you, and if yes, we will proceed.
Love it. Thank you. So yeah, check the links below this episode wherever you're listening. And yeah, thank you for coming, Omar.
Thank you very much.
It's amazing to have you on the show. Anyone that's listening, if you like this episode or if you just want to follow the show, make sure you're following. It boosts us up the rankings. And yeah, see you for next week's episode.